The blue pram sat outside Patel's corner shop, its canopy fluttering slightly in the October breeze. Sarah's hands trembled as she gripped her shopping basket, frozen on the pavement. Inside the shop, she could hear Mrs. Patel's cheerful voice chatting with a customer about the weather. She'd been standing there for 3 minutes. She'd counted the seconds. The baby made a small sound, not crying, just a sleepy coo. Sarah's chest constricted so tightly she thought her ribs might crack. 6 years. 6 years of negative tests, failed procedures, sympathetic head tilts from doctors who used words like unlikely and alternatives. 6 years of her sister's birth announcements, her friends' baby showers, her mother's careful silence about grandchildren. Her arms physically ached. That's what no one told you, that the wanting could become a phantom pain, a constant awareness of emptiness. The pram was right there. Pink blanket, tiny fist curled near a cherub face, maybe 8 months old. Sarah's mind went somewhere else, somewhere dark and desperate she didn't recognize. Her feet moved before her brain caught up. She was pushing the pram, walking quickly. Her heart hammered against her sternum like it was trying to escape her body. 2 streets. 3. The baby stayed quiet, rocked by the motion. "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" Sarah's flat was close. Too close. She'd lived in this neighborhood for 4 years. Everyone knew her. The Pakistani family on the corner, the students in the ground floor flat, Chen, who walked her terrier every morning at 7. Inside her building, she lifted the pram up the stairs, her muscles screaming. Her hands shook so violently she could barely get the key in the lock. The baby stirred, making small sounds of confusion. The door closed behind her with a terrible finality. For one suspended moment, Sarah stared at the pram in her small living room. It looked wrong there, foreign, like a spaceship that had crashed through her ceiling. The baby's eyes opened pale blue, unfocused, innocent. "Hello, sweetheart," Sarah whispered, her voice breaking. She reached down, and her hands remembered what to do despite never having done it. The baby was warm and solid and real. She smelled like powder and milk and something indefinably sweet. Sarah held her against her chest, and the baby's head nestled perfectly into the hollow of her shoulder. This was what she'd wanted, what she'd ached for, what had carved her hollow from the inside out. The baby made a questioning sound and turned her face towards Sarah's collarbone, rooting, searching for food Sarah didn't have. Reality crashed through the moment like a brick through glass. Sarah's knees buckled. She sank onto the sofa, the baby still in her arms, and the magnitude of what she'd done rolled over her in waves of ice-cold horror. This wasn't her baby. This was someone's entire world. Someone was screaming right now. Someone's hands were empty. Someone's heart was being ripped from their chest while they gave descriptions to police officers, while they sobbed that she was wearing a pink blanket, while they died inside. Sarah knew that grief. She lived with it every day. But she'd just given it to someone else, given it deliberately, given it to an innocent mother who'd only wanted to buy milk or bread or whatever people with babies bought. "Oh God," Sarah gasped. "Oh God, what have I done?" The baby started to cry, a real cry now, confused and frightened by Sarah's distress. Sarah tried to soothe her, but her hands were shaking too badly. She was crying too, tears streaming down her face, mixing with snot and shame and a grief so profound it felt like drowning. She had to fix this. She had to undo it. Moving in a blur of panic, Sarah wrapped the baby back in her pink blanket, placed her gently in the pram. The baby wailed now, red-faced, sensing something terribly wrong. Sarah's hands moved mechanically down the stairs, onto the street, pushing fast, faster. Police cars. 2 of them outside Patel's shop, lights silent but ominous. Sarah's vision tunneled. She couldn't go back there. She pushed the pram 2 blocks over, to the health center she'd been to so many times for her own empty appointments. The pram sat in the entrance, conspicuous and impossible to miss. Sarah kissed 2 fingers and pressed them to the baby's forehead. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Then she walked away before she could change her mind, before she could steal this baby twice. She walked fast, her empty arms swinging uselessly at her sides. A nurse had found the pram, but Sarah didn't turn around. She walked home in the gathering dusk, her body moving while her soul lagged somewhere behind. Inside her flat, she stood in the living room where the pram had been, and the absence was unbearable. Sarah sank to the floor and sobbed for the baby she'd held for 20 minutes, for the mother she'd traumatized, for the emptiness that had driven her to the unthinkable, for the children she would never have, for the person she'd become in her desperation. Her arms ached with the echo of weight that wasn't hers to hold. The wanting didn't end. It never ended. But now it carried the additional weight of shame, of a line she'd crossed and could never uncross. Sarah curled on her side on the cold floor, her arms wrapped around nothing, and let the grief finally break her open. I've written this story to explore the devastating psychological impact of infertility and the moment of clarity that can cut through even the most desperate act. Sarah's journey from the aching want, through the dissociative theft, to the crushing realization and guilt tries to honor both the very real pain of childlessness and the profound wrong of her actions. The story doesn't excuse what she did, but it does try to understand the place of absolute desperation that could drive someone to such an unthinkable act, and the moral core that ultimately couldn't live with it.